Why, one historian predicts Prince William will be ruthless.
And should Prince Harry develop a charity to compete with Senabale? We'll discuss that. Also, breaking news about Netflix that we obviously have to get into. Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, your go-to for insight and opinion on two of the most talked about royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle right here in California. And I know that the chat is so excited for the return of the man, the myth, the legend, Rupert.
Well, you've gone big right from the start. Yes, welcome back. And I'm Rupert Bell. I've remembered my name. Yes, I've just had a week sunning myself in wonderful Italy and eating lots of good pasta. I've had lots of gnocchi and all things Italian. But yes, delighted to be back and delighted to be bringing you all the news. And there's plenty of it around Prince William and his wife, the Princess of Wales.
Now, we have some conflicting stories here off the top that I think, similar to most of the content we cover when it comes to the British royal family, there's some truth sprinkled within. So I figured we'd read both of them, dissect both of these stories, and figure out where the truth is, probably somewhere in the middle. There was a really powerful piece in The Telegraph. I don't know if you saw it while you were tanning, living your best life. But, a lot of chatter lately about whether Prince William would strip Prince Andrew and Prince Harry of their titles. And so there's this bombshell report in the Daily Telegraph, which is often seen as the palace's preferred paper, that claims that Prince William intends to address the, quote, Prince Andrew problem head on when he becomes king, taking steps his father has so far avoided by permanently removing his disgraced uncle from the royal family's official ranks. Now, this can be dissected a million different ways. We'll talk about this HRH versus taking the Duke title away versus taking the Prince title away. I've never even imagined taking the Prince title away, but they're claiming that Andrew could be stripped of the title Prince entirely by William, with new legislation introduced by the government to formalize its removal. Can I have your opinion on that? And we'll talk about some of the other quotes from the piece.
I don't think the government probably got more important things to be worrying about. Of course, we don't know when Prince William will ascend to the throne, but I don't see that as being a priority. What I do see is frustrating every member of the family. And obviously, this latest book has added to the total frustration. And when the royal family has got to get its PR right, endless stories about Prince Andrew are not great for the look of the family. And he has put a bit of disgrace on the rest of the hardworking family. Remember, it was, I think, within the week, Princess Anne celebrated her 75th birthday. And so which has been distracted by the endless headlines surrounding Prince Andrew's life. And I think that's part of the frustration for William, when he knows when he takes over, he's going to have a pretty pared down royal family. And how's it going to look? We're relying on people to step up to the plate. Now, could it be that Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, who get on very well with William, are seen as two who could quietly go about the business and supporting the king? So it'd be quite interesting to see what develops over the coming weeks. But William, I think, is desperately frustrated by this endless headlines when it's not a good look, when they want to try and create a positive vibe around the family, and Andrew doesn't. I don't think it will go as far as perhaps this article is suggesting, but it might just suggest the level of thinking that Prince William has.
I want to start out by saying I very much sympathize with Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice. They are total innocents in this, and I especially feel bad for them today, having to read some of these stories about their father and their mother and the headlines. And, those stories, as the book comes out, people will notice different facts and different pieces of information. So this is a slow drip that's probably going to be a very prolonged and difficult period for them. And I do really, really feel sorry for them because, as far as I can see, I mean, Andrew Loney goes into some weird financial issues where he'll say a daughter receives a pretty significant amount of money for said wedding or said. So I don't know. I'm assuming that these girls are 100% innocent. Tom Sykes of the Daily Beast says, despite their innocence, they can't come back to work for the British royal family because they are a reflection of Prince Andrew and Fergie. Do you think that's debatable, or do you think that that's a fair point? Because I've always thought, I really don't know if they can step up and be significant members when we're always going to go, remember Jeffrey Epstein?
And well, yes, but they are the innocent party in it. And people who know them say that, of course they're going to be crushed by what's going on when you read lurid headlines about your mother and father. And it must be so, if just looking at the human interest point of view, pretty tough on them. But Andrew's created these problems by his arrogance and putting his daughters in difficult situations. But people who know them say they are grounded as much as they can be, and actually could be, because they already do quite a lot of, charity work and get on with it in a very unassuming way. Don't try and draw attention overtly to it. So they've got a good history so far of trying to do the right thing, and I think they would be they'd be. I know they're always going to have the sort of shadow of Prince Andrew, their father, hanging over him by his actions. But I do think there could be a way forward. It is a problem for William because, as I think we've discussed, once outside the King's generation, who is there? And that is the problem. Could Zara and Mike step up to the plate and say, go and support his brother? I don't know. So there's all sorts of interesting problems for the future king to worry about as to how the future royal family operates on the kind of scale that it needs to. And that's going to be the difficulty going forward. And that's why Harry's action all those years ago it's very selfish because he's actually put more pressure on his brother when he becomes king.
Oh, well, they would love nothing more than to come back and do half in, half out. Now it's us that
Well,
are going, please, for the love of God, no, don't. What about this quote from Christopher Wilson, this royal historian? I've been eager to talk to him for years because I think he's so much fun to listen to. He says that William has hard-nosed ideas about how the royal family needs to appear in the frenzied social media world we now inhabit, and I think he will be ruthless. Imagine what Prince William saw online at the height of the Where's Kate chaos and some of the cruel conspiracy theories that were circulating. I do imagine that Prince William is hypersensitive when it comes to the digital age.
yeah, and you can understand, it's when the king was being brought, the current king, social media, you could get on with things. It wasn't blazoned everywhere, and you just, things were sort of brushed under the carpet, and news never got out. That's why people perhaps were quite fascinated with The Crown in the early stages because it was based on facts of the time. Okay, given a Hollywood narrative. But nowadays, everything social media, you can't move. And the royal family and the pressure on Kate when Princess Wales was diagnosed was enormous. And not only from her, trying to recover, but the sort of public curiosity value made it very difficult for all and sundry. And that is a big problem going forward. And that's what William is trying to navigate, because not only about his father, but also about his wife. And he's in a very difficult position. And I can understand why he might be feeling quite angry about the situation as it stands, because it's not of his doing. It's been created by two members of his family who, for whatever reason, have behaved like idiots.
Mm. Yeah, because this Telegraph says, the Telegraph article says that sources around Prince William appear to confirm that William understands the reputational threat his uncle possesses to the monarchy in this new generation and won't shy away from taking action if it needs to fall to him. I feel like I say this as the Trump administration is refusing to release the Epstein documents, but I feel like we might be at the height of the worst, right? And so like I feel like maybe Prince, this how that description makes it sound like Prince William will step in and do something if he has to. But we might be at the height of the chaos, and there might not be a reason to going forward. This might be the worst. This might be
We,
the peak.
well, it never seems to end, this Epstein scandal.
Yeah.
And obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell's still around, so therein lies part of the problem. There always seems to be something else that comes out, and the sort of lurid speculation around these tapes and everything that's going on. So it is, but Andrew needs it to go away, and maybe it will finally. This book. But as you said already, the cloud of Jeffrey Epstein hangs over him. It is the defining, apart from the TV interview where, the Pizza Express got the best bit of headlines ever, and he didn't sweat. That has been the thing that has defined him, and his poor choice of friends have led to this difficulty. And maybe it will go away, but I don't know no one knows what's going to go on in America, how it's going to pan out. Who people do want it to come out. I believe certain elements of the Republican Party do, some don't. I mean, it sounds a very confusing picture as to what will happen in the future. But whatever, for Prince Andrew, it just hasn't been a good look. And he needs to go away and reflect. But his ability to reflect is not something that he's particularly good at.
Or famous for. No, he's famous for maybe the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about News Nation's report. And I just want to point out that one thing that the Telegraph says that News Nation also is reporting is that Prince Andrew, under a Prince William reign, will not be invited to any family events again, will never appear with other royals, and may not even be invited to Prince William's coronation. Now, that's the Telegraph. News Nation doesn't go as far. Although that wouldn't shock me. What do you have a reaction to the coronation? I mean,
well,
I know we're playing a guessing game, and some people get annoyed by this, but I think that it's fascinating to determine, because every move that these people make, it goes in the history books, and every move that they make can affect public perception, and they have to have the public on their side, or they jeopardize not only their legacy, but they jeopardize the future of the monarchy for their children and their children's children. So everything has to be closely decided and strategized.
Well, and this is the problem. They don't want Andrew to be a distraction. And as we've seen, it's with Harry. When he turns up, it's a distraction from the main emphasis. And when Andrew turns up, obviously quite often he's seen at Sandringham, but he's not anymore. He's kept away from that. The Garter Parade, I think he was kept well away. You wouldn't see him at Royal Ascot, the sort of semi-public private things that the royal family do, which would be trooping of the colour, all members of the family turn up, but of course he's no longer involved in that. So increasingly, he's just going to be marginalized and not photographed because they know it's a distraction. Where is he? He's lurking in the wings because he's not allowed to be in public. Remember, I think, wasn't it when the Queen, he came out and he helped the Queen at a service. Was it the Jubilee service, the Platinum Jubilee service, when he was around and he helped, and he was had a very prominent position within that. And that didn't attract the right sort of headlines yet. That was him helping his mother. So he's created this difficulty.
And do you remember remember when everybody was mad at him for talking about his father after he passed away? He went and spoke to media after Prince Philip passed away, and everyone said that was inappropriate because of all of that, because he was, he had embarrassed his father basically. And at some point, I had this conversation with you when people were angry that he was at the church with them. At some point, you have to be like, this is also a family. And if he wants to remember his father, was it his father or his mother? Didn't he talked to media outlets and people were horrified that he had the audacity.
And in a way, I think he certainly, if I remember right, I think it was his mother, but for him, and she, by all accounts, was devoted to him, and maybe to his detriment, because obviously there was a gap between Princess Anne and Prince Andrew, and it comes, then she has her third child, and maybe that he was a bit spoilt by her and wasn't actually brought into line. Look, as we've discussed, I mean, I did go to school with Andrew at prep school between the ages of 8 and 13. And even then, he was pretty convinced of his own self-importance. So, he hasn't, the leopard has not changed its spots. They say, look at the child at 7 and then you might see the man. Well, if he was, what we got to see was he became an increasingly worse version of what he was at school. So it is quite interesting the way they're going to have to deal with this. I don't think we'll see him in public. The only time we seem to see him now is driving his car around Windsor Park with his ex-wife in the car.
And
It's
sometimes on a horse, we also see him sometimes.
Well, he's got it, but what's he going to do with his time? I mean, I don't know. How's he affording the upkeep of the Royal Lodge? I do not know, but that's where he wants to stay. He's got a lease on it, and he will be determined, I think, to stay in there. Again, much to the frustration of the rest of the family, and he doesn't help himself by trying to give them something to feel, well done, you've done that, but actually stubborn and refuses to yield. And this must be, as I say, deeply frustrating for Prince William as he tries to think how his future monarchy might look.
Let's discuss News Nation's report about Prince Andrew. It says Andrew will be relegated to Royal Siberia, even more so than he is now, and not be invited to any family gatherings. That's similar to the article we just read. And unless there is a serious breakthrough in the coming years, Harry will likely get the same treatment from Prince William. Silence. Where News Nation differs from the Telegraph article is that they say there is absolutely no way William would remove Prince Andrew and Prince Harry's Duke titles, as it would bring even more attention to the issues with them. I agree with that. It's never complain, never explain. William goes through if William has to go through the process of getting Parliament involved, it is going to be splashed across every headline I imagine this would take years, and it would be World War III in the House of Windsor. It would be it would attract way too much negative attention. However, and I'd love your opinion on this, stripping them of their HRH, or Harry specifically, I don't know. I feel like Harry and Meghan continue to try to monetize it. I'm sure Prince Andrew does too behind the scenes. Let's say both of them is as easy as a declaration. I wonder if he did get fed up, if that would be an alternative, because that's something you can do overnight, basically.
I think we're not going to see anything going through Parliament whenever. That's not.
Yeah.
It is too. It then becomes too much of a spotlight, and then you get a bit of he said, she said. They try and defend their case, and I think in a way they've got to try and hope. And you sort of alluded to this may be the worst, but with Harry, we just don't know where he's going, and he is a rudderless ship at the moment. He doesn't seem to have been able to relax into his freedom that he says he has, with any degree of
finding freedom turned into fighting boredom real quick.
Well, and just sort of again sitting in his castle in Montecito, complaining about everybody, and it is frustrating. This is the frustration for William. He does not want to draw unnecessary attention, and doing something like that, calling Parliament to do something, just isn't going to happen. It's not a sensible move forward. I don't know whether they've done it. My knowledge of the previous monarchies, whether there's been situations like that, I don't know. But it's not something that would, I'm sure, be countenanced by the government. They've got more important things to be worrying about than two errant members of the royal family who are causing, while causing the king and the future king heartache. It's not something that I don't will be involved for the state here. I just can't see it happening.
But we
But for
have
William,
seen the royal family remove HRH titles. I think that did they completely strip Fergie of hers, or did Fergie get to keep hers?
well, I think once she was divorced, I
She
think
got to keep her Duchess title.
yeah. So if she's the Duchess of York, she gets to keep that. If she remarried, she would lose it.
Well, You
because
know, she
obviously,
also doesn't want to lose the butler, which is why she refuses to leave her ex-husband's home.
well, and they do say that, she is, the closest confidant of Andrew. So the sort of royal family is sort of keeping her on side.
Hmm.
And there is an element of that, that they sort of put up with her worst excesses. Look, she's led a complicated life. Again, a lot for her own doing. There they are, holed up in this 30-room royal lodge together. It's a very strange sort of arrangement for the exes here. So, but they need each other. They're mutually dependent because well, I don't know how many friends Sarah's got, but Andrew, I don't think has too many close confidants who he can confide in.
Okay, so Sarah Ferguson did lose her HRH. Thank you, Google. I'm always conflicted in saying it confidently because I know she's still a duchess, and there was a tug of war when it came to Princess Diana's HRH, and a lot of historians say that Diana wanted to lose the HRH for sympathy, that was one of her allegedly her manipulation moves because the media, she knew it would send the media in a tailspin. So that all I think tells us something pretty significant that Harry could use that to his advantage, and Meghan specifically could and would use that to their advantage, though in a way that Diana did to try to garner public sympathy and to play the victim card if they were stripped of the HRH.
Yeah, the late Princess Diana was very clever at courting the media and making sure that they were on her side, and it
You
was a
shared a
brilliant piece.
godchild with her, didn't you? Or you do?
I did.
You do.
I did. Yes. Yes. So she was extremely good at controlling the media. So, and making sure that her story was heard. Because obviously the way people, she did have a great deal of support and she knew exactly how to touch the right PR button. But ultimately, when it comes to Harry and Meghan, we do know they're trying, they're not allowed to monetize the situation, but they do. They quay by the sort of all the embossed lettering. It's all designed to give them a sort of fake royal stamp of approval, and it's tacky. For Prince Andrew, it's a more complicated issue, but I think if he can be kept in the sidelines, then the problem might go away. But what we don't need, and okay, Andrew Lowney maybe is doing very well out of his hard work. We don't want too many more of these books coming out for him, or certainly Andrew won't. But I mean, I don't know where they go after this because this seems to be a pretty comprehensive reflection on Andrew's life, right from a young age right through to the modern day.
What about this News Nation report? This is in the same piece. It says kind of a no-brainer. It says a source says there's no way that Catherine or William would allow Harry and Meghan a private audience. They haven't spoken to them since Harry's tell-all spare and don't want to. It would be a PR opportunity, and they likely blab everything to Gayle King a day later. William is done with his brother. I feel like we can say, yeah, we know that.
Where the trust has gone, and it does not trust that, now they've, obviously we haven't started speaking about it yet, but the new Netflix deal, that probably that's what Netflix will sort of keep hovering about is the new story. Where does it go from here? The second series, but for William, I just at the moment he's more worried about looking after his wife and his father, making sure that their recovery continues apace in whatever way it takes, and it's not going to be an easy journey for either of them. But at the same time, it must again, this all adds to his probably resentment and anger that look, why have we got these problems? And it's not our doing. Okay, there are probably two sides to every coin, and Harry may think that he feels the victim, but in many ways, by his actions, he's proved wrong. Harry has proved himself to be wrong time and time again. And this is the problem. And William does not want to find any reason to talk to him unless there is a period that shows, yes, he's as good as his word and he is not running off to the media to tell what happens and complain if it doesn't go the way he wanted it to go.
Yes. And recollections may vary. Recollections may vary. Like
Uh,
there's
absolutely.
definitely there's definitely two sides to every story, but it also feels like the royals are like, and then there's the truth. So
Yeah.
we have to be, I feel like we always have to be cautious when we report on Prince Harry
Mm.
and Meghan Markle's version of events. Let's talk before we go into the Netflix chat. Let's discuss these reports that were circulating over the weekend that Prince Harry was planning on developing almost a rival charity to Senebale. This comes from the Daily Mail, the Mail on Sunday, reporting that Prince Harry is planning to outflank the boardroom rival, Dr. Sophie Shandaka, who accused him of bullying by launching a new African children's charity. Sources say he's determined to continue the work of the charity, which he co-founded with Prince Siso of Lesotho in 2006 in honor of both of their mothers. The Duke is anxious that the fight against poverty and AIDS in Lesotho and Botswana carries on, says an insider. He and Prince Siso are keen to work together on a new venture. They're talking about setting up a new charity, are clubbing together to support other existing charities doing similar work in the region. Now, sources close to the prince told the Daily Beast that nothing is decided, and the prince may instead elect to support other charities working in the same space. To that, I'd ask you, Dr. Sophie Shandaka has said in the past that Prince Harry's brand is very toxic, and he specifically became the number one risk for the Senebale charity. And she accused him of disrupting important fundraisers with his Netflix crew. Uh, I think I think strategically I'd go, why don't you just latch onto an existing charity for now? It seems more immediate, it seems most convenient, and develop one later. Um, I feel like he's going to have a hard time either way with this toxic brand that even the Charity Commission kind of agreed with when they said, both of you are guilty of allowing this to spill in the streets.
And that, I think, both sides of this argument have not come out particularly well. But as Dr. Sophie was alluding to, the toxicity of the Harry brand has caused the problems. They weren't being able to raise the funds because it was when he was a bona fide member of the royal family, that came with a cachet of people wanting to help. But now he's playing his own business opportunity. It suddenly becomes a different ballgame when you start to do charity. And of course, it is very difficult. And you've also got to put in the hard yards. Now, if he's planning to launch a charity, he's got to work at it. He's got to make sure, he's got to say, right, I'm going to get back out there. Now, he may be doing documentaries in Uganda. And the people I feel most sorry for, again, we've talked about the children of Prince Andrew. It's the people who are being helped by this charity. Presumably, it's not raising the money. They're not necessarily being able to do the work they had planned because it's sort of given the whole brand a bit of a whole brand. I'm not saying toxic, but it's not quite what it was before. It seemed it had great intentions before, and everyone said, wow, this is a really worthy charity to be involved. But unfortunately, it's played out in the media, and the Charity Commission were right. It was a big distraction for the whole modus operandi for Centobali, which was go and help the children. But now the children have not been helped while the bosses fight it out. The trustees, Dr. Sophie and her team, they're putting it all out there. But ultimately, the Charity Commission did seem to suggest that Harry was at fault to some extent here and needed to take on board, what's been going on. And I wish the charity well, and I hope they can find a way to be able to start doing their work again. But it will require a lot of work and rebuilding. They've got to rebuild confidence in the actual charity and what it's setting out to do in its new format. And for Harry, I don't see him actually putting in the work to drive one through. And that's what he's got to have to do. If he wants to and he's serious, then again, setting up a charity with good intentions, it's all right setting it up. But what are you actually going to do? What do you want to achieve? Where? What's the aim of this charity? How are we going to make sure that we get the sort of funds that can make a meaningful difference? And with him not being a working member of the royal family, I think that's so much harder for him.
I have two questions for you. One, To me, it's obvious. To me, it's obviously petty and immature looking that he would set up a rival charity. I don't think that reflects well on him. But number two, could this be a blessing in disguise? Could this give him the direction he needs to have to start something from scratch and to have to be heavily invested in it to make it work? I mean, Dr.
Uh,
Sophie Shandaka said he had not been to see them since 2024, and prior to that he had not visited in 6 years. If he wants to set up a new charity out there, he can't disappear for years. He's going to have to pick up a suitcase and spend a significant amount of time building something from the ground up. And it almost might be a blessing that he has this new, he's probably not thinking this way, but this new purpose.
well, I think this is the problem for him. Africa is a continent dear to his heart, and this is one of the things they're talking about. He could have been given some sort of role out in Africa,
Yes.
doing this kind of work
Didn't
with
the Queen
Meghan.
suggest they go live
Yeah,
there and do this?
yes,
You know,
uh,
when they said we want a break, she was like, go live in Africa, wherever you want to live. Just spend a few years there and cool off, basically.
uh, and do the kind of work you want to do, but with it under the umbrella of the royal family, and give yourself an opportunity. But unfortunately, probably the trouble and strife said, no, I don't want to go and live in Africa. I
Yeah.
need to be in California. Cockney rhyming slang for anyone who doesn't know, but I think you've been to London so many times, you know exactly what that means anyway.
Yes.
But so so she wouldn't have probably countenanced it. So I think he does need to find something, and as you say, it might be the sort of thing that he needs to. If he's going to do it, he's going to have to spend time on the ground to make sure that people can feel that this is a genuine passion and commitment on his behalf. And at the moment, I just don't see it. It's all right to talk, but actually, actions will speak far louder than words. And if he is going to do it, then let's see him get out there and do something really positive and put his real heart and soul into it. But at the moment, I don't think that's likely.
Well, that's interesting that you don't. I feel like he's going to try to. Well, you know what? I always give this guy the benefit of the doubt to the detriment of my credibility. I always give this guy the benefit of the doubt. When we found out he was going to release a book, I was convinced that he was going to release a book about how he overcame grief and the death of his mother and how he found the other side and how grateful he is that he pushed on. And we got a book about his wiener, Rupert, about his
Yeah.
frozen todger. So I want to
Well,
say he's going to take this opportunity and he's going to throw his whole self in it and he's going to create a new charity and he's going to say he's going to make something important of this mess. But the reality is he's not. And I
well,
have just got to pump the brakes when it comes to my optimism, really.
I'm not overly optimistic, but it's all just part of the sort of endless, whether it's his rows with the media, he just comes across as just plain angry about the decisions, the way his life has gone.
Yeah.
Now, no, but since splitting with the royal family, it's his decision. They made the call, and now they should be actually saying, well, this is, didn't we, when we saw, the Finding Freedom, off we go, we're on the freedom trail, and, all this. But he just looks at the moment, that's the last thing that he's been on. He's been on an angry trail, and it's just not happening for him. And he's got to stop being angry and start being positive because he can't go around life just being negative about everything. His wife's trying to build on that everything is friends and happy and positive.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes you just feel that her other half is Mr. Grumpy, Mr. Angry, and not actually in the kind of place that he saw. The grass is not as green on the other side as it was when he was making the split.
There's the perfect example of that is is Meghan going on Jamie Kern Lima and saying that they're still in their honeymoon phase and her husband is such a fox. And like a week later, maybe 2 weeks, I don't know, maybe days, this year has all just been mushed together. But Prince Harry going on the BBC going like, someone's trying to kill my entire family, I need extra security. And you're just like,
Yeah.
so wait, what is it? Are we is everything happy hunky dory, or are you guys on lockdown in Montecito because you're so fearful for when it comes to everything around you? I messed up yesterday, Rupert. Can I tell you what I did?
Why? What do you do?
I on Sunday for Monday, I recorded a video about 5 things that never came to fruition that Meghan Markle promised. And on that list was Meet Me at the Lake and a documentary from Prince Harry. And today we finally got the official Netflix announcement. I mean, they haven't come to fruition yet. No one's cast Meet Me at the Lake. A director hasn't been hired, so I'm not too far off. But Netflix announced that they're going to extend their Meghan and Harry announced for Netflix that they're going to extend their relationship with Harry and Meghan. It is not the same contract. The original contract is dead, but they want first offers, or they want the chance to see what Harry and Meghan have in mind, and they can decide whether or not they'll pursue it. But what we do have on the roster, they've said that this Meet Me at the Lake's in development forever, but that was 2 years ago. So I'm waiting with bated breath. But they said we're getting a documentary from Uganda from Harry and Meghan, which I imagine it's a great cause. It's about children that are suffering from AIDS, but I imagine it will rank probably as high as Heart of Invictus when it comes to audience response, audience interest. And then a Christmas special from Meghan Markle, which just let me tell you how pissed off this makes me, Rupert. And I use the P word. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and her Christmas concerts own my holiday season. Meghan Markle doesn't talk to 99.9% of her family, and she's going to try to tell us how to celebrate the holidays. Let me show her the door.
Well, yes, because what families is she going to have around?
Yeah, is it a
Her
micro
mother.
Christmas? Are you planning a micro Christmas with 3 people?
So she'll have to hide behind all these magical
B,
so-called
B list.
A-list celebrity friends.
Yeah.
No, well, B, I think you've gone a bit high there. So keep lower. That's the thing. Her family, she'd not have Christmas now with family and friends. Friends, but family, no. And that's the sad thing. At least when the royal family get together in Sandringham, they're rattling around there, but there's plenty of them. Okay, William and the Prince William and the Princess of Wales, well, they nipped to Amner Hall, but they're still part of the Christmas festivities in Norfolk. But the family is around. In Meghan's case, I mean, we've got the new series coming out soon. That was under the old contract. Well, what's that going to be like if it's already filmed? What things is she going to be elevating in that? And I'm not sure that how she's going to elevate Christmas. What's she going to do on the famous Christmas pudding that we have here? Let's have some flour sprinkles, or do we have to put flour sprinkles on the roast potatoes while we're eating the turkey? I don't know. I'm being very flippant here, but whatever it will be, I'm sure it'll be beautifully shot, and it will be so insincere.
Yeah.
She will have a grin of happiness stuck on her face, and everything will be done lovingly shot, and then there will be Christmas decorations in the corner. It will be schmaltzy, won't it? It'll because sometimes your side of the pond, you do quite often do the big holidays and Christmas, plenty of schmaltz,
Yeah.
and
That's like,
selling.
I think that you're right. It'll be commercialized and yuck.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing that I really admire about the British royal family, and I know sometimes King Charles, and me too, annoys me with some of the decisions he makes around faith. But I'm a faith-based person. We see these people in church regularly. So when the Princess of Wales plans a Christmas Carol concert, that authenticity is there because I see her regularly in church. I see her regularly in the pews. But Harry and Meghan are not faith-based. I never hear them talk about Jesus Christ. I never hear them talk about Buddha. I never hear them talk about anything. So to hijack the birth of Jesus Christ so that Meghan Markle can sell another bottle of rosé or a loose fruit spread, it makes me hostile.
Well, I just, she is the Christmas concert has been an increasing tradition, recorded at the beginning of December at Westminster Abbey, and it's something that I'm sure already when we talk now, here we are in August, they'll be planning already the likely, maybe some of the guests who are coming along, what they're trying to do, because it always gets a spot on national television here, and it is part of now a Christmas tradition. So now the fact that we're going to have a Christmas cooking lifestyle program from Meghan, I mean, will she really decorate the tree? I mean,
Still walk in
there'll be a
after the production assistant has done all the
well,
hard stuff.
and then the production assistant will done, and then she'll lovingly put one last. I can see it. One last bauble with a handwritten card going on. Which she can show off how beautifully she writes. So look at this lovely tree. I've gone to a shop and I've chosen it, but have I brought it? No, I've got my production crew bringing it in. No, I'm afraid I'm not going to be rushing to watch it. May have to, but I think it's going to be false. We saw it in the first cooking program. It was all pretty fake.
Yeah.
And the second series might be the same. The viewing figures weren't great. I think it'll be a real test to see how they're going second time round. Look, there's a notoriety about her. They're sort of working on the theory that all publicity is good publicity. Does seem to be the mantra for the Meghan and Harry show at the moment. And maybe Netflix, why they've found a way, it would be a loss of face for them if they cancel the deal, because it would make their business making look stupid and flawed. So it's a way, I think it's an easy win-win for both from a PR perspective. Netflix put out a statement saying we're so happy to continue to work with the brand. For Harry and Meghan, it looks good. Look, we haven't been dropped, so they can say we haven't been dropped. But actually, it's both sides making sure that the PR waters are not muddied one way or another. And I think that's at the heart of it. We don't know the terms of it, how much money. Presumably it'll be a program by program basis that they will pay for it, but not the 100 million, which was excessive in the extreme. And apart
And
from
we
the
and we
initial,
also found out, well, we don't have a real number, but I've heard repeatedly that number was heavily inflated, that was not the actual number, $100,000 or $100 million or whatever. I've heard that was not the real number. But you're right. Netflix did not want to have egg on their faces. They didn't want to say we took a chance and we screwed up. How embarrassing for us that we gave these two nobodies a deal and the return on investment wasn't there. What they do say is we had one great commercial success with them, which was the Harry and Meghan. Of course you did, because they're ripping into the British royal family and people love trashy television. Look at the Real Housewives of whatever.
yeah.
But and then with Harry and Meghan, they have to pay the bills. They have to keep the lights on. So of course they're thrilled that they still have this relationship. But it's not. At the end of the day, the original deal is dead. They've had to renegotiate, and they had to create something that wasn't as lucrative for Harry and Meghan. But Harry and Meghan will take it because they really don't have any other options.
I think that's enough of it. And also, Netflix may be thinking, well, you never know what the domestic situation might be in 4 or 5 years' time, to 10 years' time. And they're still very much, and she, in a way, they've got control of the narrative of that because of their commercial arrangements. We just don't know. So for Netflix, I think it is, aren't they also helping with the distribution of the As Ever products, which all seem to have sold out within a nanosecond? Again, you see, trying to create a positive PR spin when we know that they just haven't made enough of these things.
Yeah.
And the rosé, I don't know whether it's any good. Because we haven't got it over here, but when I come to the States in September, I'll go searching for it. Well, I'll
But you
try and
have
find
you
some.
have to order it. It's not available in stores. You have to order it in cases of 3, 6, or 9. So
Well,
your hotel room would be spinning, is what I'm trying to tell you.
well, maybe 3 bottles. Well, okay. But if it's rubbish, it'll just go down the sink. But the point is, they are always trying to create a positive spin on the way they are portrayed. And selling out is an easy one. But for Netflix, if they are helping with the distribution and maybe and shops that they're setting up, maybe the As Ever products, because they're under the Netflix brand, gives them a what they might think as a sort of seal of credibility and sort of sophistication. But let's be honest, the products that she's creating, just seem to be opportunistic rather than something that actually looks really good as she tries and strives to be the new Martha Stewart. But she's so far from being the new Martha Stewart that I can't. She's not even on the first rung up that ladder to get to Dame Martha, well, Martha Stewart's status, who is the domestic goddess of America, unless I've got that completely wrong. But
No,
she has
and recently questioned her authenticity and said she hoped Meghan knew what she was talking about when it came to all this stuff, because she said people can sense that lack of sincerity.
and we've talked about it. It's got again. It's about when we talk about Harry, the charities. Have that drive. Is it authentic? Is it from the heart, from the soul? Are these business ideas that keep her awake at night? Are they something that she's absolutely passionate about, or does she just see it as let's try and see if I can milk my status and get a few quid because I'm the Duchess of Sussex and I have a notoriety value? So rather than actually really knows what. Well, 1 minute it's jam, next minute it's spread. So actually, it tells me she doesn't really know what she's doing.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Rupert Bell, we're so happy to have you back.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I'm around for the next few weeks, I think. So,
You better be.
You've got me now for a few weeks. But anyway, this is. I've often been a beer, 1 pint of beer. Now it's a bottle of water. So for anyone concerned, I do drink water rather than just beer. So there you go.
Rupert
And
Bell,
this
a
is a
hydrated
this
man.
is yeah, this is a Wimbledon bottle too.
Oh, okay. All right. You don't have to brag. All right. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. And well, we'll see you next week, but I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.